Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Onmyoji 2, a Japanese fantasy drama from 2003 that is a sequel to the film Onmyoji from 2001. Mansei Nomura and Hideaki Ito return, with Kyoko Fukada being added as the female lead. So mysterious and bloody incidents ensue after a solar eclipse in the capital city. Devils rampage throughout the night and attack members of the nobility, each of whom is murdered and has a body part bitten off. Abe no Seimei, the mightiest Onmyoji, suspects that something will happen when the 8th victim is killed, and the seal breaks off of a legendary sword. He must risk his own life to save the capital, and fight a man who had sold his soul to a rampaging god. Now, I recently reviewed the first Onmyoji film, and so you should probably watch that review first, before this one if you haven't, because I give some backstory regarding the fantasy concepts that are used in this franchise. Onmyoji is a very cool movie, and Onmyoji 2 is a very nice sequel. Now this opens with a voiceover expressing like the plights of the people and how difficult it was to live at that time. It was so bad that some people actually looked forward to their next lives, and as it turns out, a mysterious healer arrives and shows up to help them. But does he have some ulterior motives? And, it's a pretty atmospheric, almost creepy opening sequence of the film. It gets it off to a good start. Story and dialogue are well written. Very soon after that opening, we see a discussion between our protagonists, and they talk about how, a demon can take advantage and possess someone who is experiencing bad things in life. They have like an unstable heart that allows such things to occur, and that provides kind of a direct link to what the villain is doing. Now, Kyoko Fukada's character also has a pretty interesting side story. She wakes in the middle of the night, having no knowledge of her nighttime activities and what she's doing. And then there's an element of this like sacred sword that seems to be awakening by itself and acting on its own. And I really like how these different elements kind of connect to the main villain and the main story a little bit later on. Now, the bad guy in Onmyoji 2 is not as fun to watch as the bad guy from the first film, but his manipulations of other people, how he positions himself to achieve his goals, is interesting to watch, and his motivations are actually quite understandable as well. Now, there are direct references in this film to specific Japanese legends that I'm personally only vaguely familiar with. But I still enjoyed the story regardless. So you don't have to necessarily worry about that. Although if you do some additional research and stuff, you read some additional reviews online, you'll get some references to some literary works and legends and stuff like that if you want to do the extra research. So even though these movies were made specifically for a Japanese audience, I think there's still a lot to enjoy from a storytelling and character standpoint for non-Japanese viewers. There is an occasional sprinkling of humor, like in the first film. It makes our protagonists, fun and endearing and well-rounded. Some of the music is neat as well. There's even some biwa flute collaborations that were really cool. I really like those. And you will notice a slight upgrade in special effects. There's a scene involving floating scrolls that I think worked quite well. Still though, there's some CGI shots, some makeup effect shots that are a little bit dodgy at times. Now, in terms of set pieces, there's a good fight involving a werewolf-like demon that ends in an unexpected way that really kind of showcases the uniqueness of these movies. There's a surprisingly sensual cleansing ritual that I very much enjoyed, and the final confrontation is this remarkably low-key sequence, even more low-key than the finale of the first film. It's more of a dance instrumental performance than an actual confrontation or final fight, but it helps to make the movie memorable. Now, a lot of times with sequels, and we all know this, a lot of times the sequels get more outrageous, more high-octane compared to the first film. This one doesn't necessarily do that. I mean, the ending does have certain outrageous elements to it, but not how you would expect. This one almost seems to focus on the characters in the story even more than the first film. You know, the pacing is deliberate, just like the first film, so be sure to go into it with that expectation. I think these Onmyoji films, in some sense, are not really something that a typical mainstream American moviegoer is really going to get into and rave about, if only because they're very laid back in how they approach the material. And I could see how some people might, you know, the finale of this film might just be sitting there like shaking their head like, man, this is quite odd for a finale of a film, but, you know, and how it plays out. But, you know, most sequels would end with a huge fight scene. That does not happen here. But I don't know, there's something about these where the characters, the way the film is crafted is just so good in my eyes that the oddities and the culturally specific elements are kind of refreshingly different from other stuff. That's how I would place it, or put it. So Onmyoji 2, it's a unique dramatic fantasy film. It would make a nice double feature with the first film. And they're both available on Region 1 DVD. So if anyone has seen these, or have seen this one in particular for this review, let me know what you think, because I'm not sure if these films would be divisive for people that follow this channel or not. So let me know what you think if you check it out. And as always, I will see you next time.